we're going to get a brief introduction into what Git and GitHub do, and then we will do the PowerPoint thing in this video, and then we'll actually write some code in a next video. So Git and GitHub is something that we probably have heard in our development careers, but we don't necessarily know what they mean, and oftentimes people think they're actually the same thing, and they're not. They are similarly named, but they're not the same thing, as we're about to find out. So let's talk about what Git does. What is Git? Let's handle that as that part of the sentence. So Git is SCM, which stands for Source Control Management, and which means that it's version control and collaboration. Well, that answers everything, doesn't it? Nah, I understand. That's still a little overwhelming. That's just a bunch of words at the moment. So let's dig in and really understand what Git is. In the first place, you have to download Git into your computer. So you go to this website and download it. And once you have it in your computer, then what does it do? All right, well, let's look into some examples. First of all, if you were to create a file, and I'm sure in your history of making, writing a paper for an English essay or something like that, you might have a version that you like, but you're going to try and make some changes. So you do a file save as, and then you might have version 2, and then that looks pretty good, but you want to do another one. You've got to do some more revisions. So do file save as, and now you have version 3. So technically in your computer, you have 3 different files of the same, of the new and improved project. And so that's the start of what Git does. Git gives you the ability to lock in time your source code. So this particular version of the file of your code worked great. Then maybe you added some things or subtracted some things and you wanted to lock that point in time. So you had another copy, but with the revisions. And then you had another revision. So one thing Git does is it keeps track of changes to your code and locks those versions that you decide, like, this is where I want to lock this version in. And then here we deleted line B, so I'm going to save as that version. So we've got in history, we have 3 different versions of our code. So Git will pay attention to those 3 and keep those in mind. The other thing that does, another thing that it does, synchronizes code between different people. So if you have a team that's working on a file or a project, this particular file is a piece of software that both of these parties need to work on. And so they can each pull a version down, a copy of that software down to their computers and work on it. But they're each doing different things on the project. And so this particular programmer added D and this particular programmer added A. And at some point, they need to merge these changes up into the master, if you will. And so this person sent their version up to Git, and this person sent their version up to Git, and Git was responsible for merging all of those changes together. So now we have one master copy. All right, so Git is very good at taking care of that merge. So each programmer doesn't have to compare what did you add, what did I add, and be responsible for making those changes. And so then ultimately, each party can pull down the merged version. So Git, centrally located, is handling both of those revisions, merging them together, and allowing both programmers to now pull down that combined master files or project. And we're just using one file, but can you imagine this being in a project-based scenario? So Git is very good at synchronizing or collaboration between team members. All right, let's say you're working on, have you ever worked on a piece of code and it was working great and you wanted to try and add a new feature, but you were afraid to muck around with your original version? And so another way that you can do this is you can branch off. Git allows us to run off in a different direction, completely untouched this version. So we've branched off. The programmer added some changes to see if it worked. And then, yes, I'm happy with it. Maybe some other team members have been working along the way on this master copy. And so this master copy is continuing to run along. And then finally, this team member says, hey, you got to add my feature. The rest of the team says, okay, that's great. And so Git gives you the ability to sort of branch off with the code from this starting point, branch off, do your thing, and then we can continue to work on the main branch. Once you are complete and we have approved your new feature, we can merge your new feature branch onto our main branch. And so the point here is that this main branch can continue to move on while someone branches off literally and takes that original code, does whatever. When we've decided that that feature is ready to be added back to the master, we can add that branch back to the master and now merge all of the branches together into one working copy. So we can branch off in different directions. Great. What else can Git do? Well, Git can give us the ability to revert back to old versions of code. So remember back in the beginning, we said we did file, save as, file, save as, file, save as. Well, on this last version, perhaps we really mucked things up. It's like, I would like to go back to this snapshot in time and just start from here again. And so we have the ability with Git to get rid of this version completely, revert back to this being our main approved version, and then continue on from there. So in summary, at the moment, what can Git do? Git keeps track of changes to our code, right, in snapshots in time. We can synchronize our code between different people, so different people can make changes and then merge them up to a central location that is responsible for merging everybody's changes together. We can branch off, so we can do branching and branch off in different directions without touching the original. And we can revert back to old versions of code and continue on from there. So let's see some examples of Git in action and how that applies to GitHub in the next video.